Welcome back, everybody. Hey, Melissa.
Hey.
Today we're doing kind of a back-to-back episode. We just did bedwetting last time. So today we're going to cover some of the same remedies, but also, several different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go over cystitis. So again, before we jump into that, if you missed last time, we mentioned a couple new courses and study groups. So the first one is the Home Prescriber with CHE, and that's a free online course. So no matter what, I think you should go snag it. It's free. And you can just listen. It's a lecture style.
Yeah.
And it's just good to have a well-rounded education, I think. So go get that one and then join our study group. It's just a shorter 2 or 3 week one, and it's $27.
Yeah.
So come to that, even if you've taken the other ones. And then new old viruses and post-viral syndrome. I've nailed that twice now.
You really did.
So that is a self-paced extra. We don't have a study group for that, but it's a ton of information. So you'll have access to the Q&A. The chat. The chat box that we had, which is different from the Q&A, is what I was going to say. And all of the slides.
Yep.
So go get that on Melissa's website, melissacrenshaw.com, under her courses tab.
Yeah. Join us. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So today we're talking about cystitis. What is the definition of cystitis?
So cystitis, I had to look this up. I know you already knew this. I looked it up, and it is the medical term for bladder inflammation. So most of the time that's caused by a bacterial infection, which we commonly call UTI.
Okay. So it's very painful. Very painful. And you want to ask the person who you're helping if the pain is before, during, or after urination, because that matters. You want to also ask the etiology. The etiology is, what is the cause? What happened just before this cystitis?
I feel like in this case, it almost always has a pretty obvious cause. At least from a lot of people I know who deal with it often, they always know what triggers it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to know that, because that can matter too in remedy selection. So some of the etiologies are anger, emotional upset, acidic foods, sex, which is the most common one, or alcohol. So you might have to, again, keep a food log, even journal a little bit. When I say journal and food log, sometimes that really turns people off, and they're like, I do not have time for that. You can make this as easy or as hard as you want to make it. And I'm speaking as a person who has a history of making things hard, and they have to be. But I'm much better now. I feel like I'm getting better, at least. That because I'm such I like everything to be just right, and pretty and neat and perfect. I'm not a perfectionist anymore. But sometimes I would make things harder than they had to be, because I was going to do it perfect, or I wasn't going to do it at all.
I was going to say, often leads to nothing.
Right.
Yeah. That's right. At least in my life.
So what I want to encourage you with is that I've been there, and I know how you feel, and I'm not there anymore. And you can literally just open the Notes app in your phone, or Google Doc or Word or whatever in your phone, whatever you have on your phone. You can even just open up an email to yourself, which would not be a good way to keep it organized, and just voice it. Today, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about grammar. Let it go. So keeping good notes like that can really help you to
good advice.
The things. So Cantharis is the #1 remedy for cystitis. Cantharis. And we did talk about that in bedwetting. Cantharis is also #1 for burns. So if any of you have been in any of my classes, you've heard my little burn story where, where I was, my son burnt his finger on the stove, and my first go-to is always Cantharis. And it wasn't working for him. And he got really angry, and he said, your stupid remedies aren't working. And I'm pointing my finger because it was his finger. And I was like, okay, that was so out of character
Because
for
he's
him.
not like that, right? Isn't
No,
he
he's
usually
not
very
like that.
sweet?
Yes, very sweet, very calm, very quiet. And I was like, oh, that's cantharis. I mean, that's chamomilla. I saw
Mhm.
chamomilla all in that. So I went and got chamomilla, and then he fell asleep. He woke up and it was gone. So
So funny.
cantharis has always been my number one go-to for burns. And the symptoms may include severe burning of the urethra. So this says severe. And if you don't know what the urethra is, just go Google it, and you can see, it'll show
The
you
anatomy
exactly
of-
which part that, the
Yeah.
anatomy. The urine might feel hot while it's coming out. The urethra feels scalded. So the urine feels so hot that the urethra feels scalded. Intense urgency to urinate. So this is urgency again, and very intense urgency. Urine could have blood or pus in it. So you want to look and you want to take good notes.
This is like giving me the heebie-jeebies just listening. I've only ever had
That's hard.
one UTI.
Really? Okay.
It was miserable.
It really was. Yeah.
And you say severe burning. Any burning feels severe when it's coming out of there.
Right. Yeah.
That does not need to
things should
burn.
not be burning down
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
I've only had one UTI also, and then I had a second one that kind of like it felt like the beginning, and I just did cantharis,
Yeah.
and I shut it
Yeah.
down. But the first UTI that I ever had was before I knew homeopathy, and I was doing cranberry juice and
Same. Yeah. I didn't have homeopathy then.
urtica. Oh, I was doing some kind of, was it urtica urins, not the homeopathic, but is it coming?
Oh, like herb?
Yeah,
like
like
a
an
tincture?
herb. Yeah, it was a capsule I was taking. I don't know. It took a long time to get over. It was terrible.
Yeah. I did a ton of cranberry. I think there was another tablet thing you could take.
Mhm.
Can't remember. I did all those things too. And it did go away. It just
Yeah, it did.
took a while.
Yeah,
Felt like it
and
was.
I believe homeopathy can work faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one is sarsaparilla. Sarsaparilla, for those of you that don't know, this will be transcribed, so you'll have the spellings of the remedies. These symptoms may include burning pain at the end of urination that feels better after passing the urine and standing. So this can be in men and women. So the woman feels better if she maybe stands to urinate. And lifting up off the toilet causes less pain. So, I mean, if
Like
you're
done, you stand up and you feel so much better.
yeah, or maybe you press, the
Oh,
sides
like
of the
lift
toilet.
up while you're going.
Yeah, lift up while you're going. Yeah.
Oh, this is tricky.
Yeah. So should I say this? I'm going to. Having been one that used to go clubbing a lot with my friends, we would pee anywhere. So I got really good.
Yeah. All kinds of acrobatics.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, yeah. So, also in the public bathrooms, they were really nasty. So we got really good at using the bathroom without sitting down.
Yep.
So, and
Yes.
maybe you did that and you didn't used to go clubbing. Why would clubbing have to be with that? But because it involved,
Well, that's how you learn. I mean, traveling,
That's right.
even you go to some of those rest
That's
stops,
true.
it's like, no, I don't want to go in there. So
That's true.
we're at
That's true.
Parks have the worst bathrooms.
Yeah, I've never been a big traveler, so you're right. That's how I learned.
Yeah.
So maybe
that was a
maybe
valuable
you
life skill you took from that stage of life.
Oh gosh. And you know what? Now when I go into public restrooms and I see urine all over the toilet, I'm like, can y'all just sit down?
Yeah.
Really? If everybody would just sit down,
We would be
nobody would
fine.
have to. We would.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to catch anything from that little toilet seat. Okay.
Yeah,
That might be really gross.
Yeah,
to some
right.
people
Another
out right now.
podcast. Yeah. You know,
Okay.
like, I am done listening to these wackos over here.
Okay. Back to cystitis. And thank you, Jesus. I am a different person now than I was back then.
Yeah.
Okay. So Staphysagria. Wait, did I finish? I didn't. Sarsaparilla has severe bladder infections that go up into the kidneys, especially the right kidney, with kidney stones and maybe even swollen joints. So these are very specific things that might make you think of sarsaparilla. Okay, so Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus is the next remedy. And Staphylococcus aureus is really good for any, really, I don't know if I can say any, but most or a lot of ailments, pain, things in the private areas.
Okay.
And so I'll give you a quick example. I'm helping a mom whose intact son, he's just one, and he is just pulling on it a lot, and he's just messing with it a lot, and it's getting red and irritated, and he's starting to cry now when he urinates. And so Staphylococcus aureus did it. That really did. I think we tried cantharis and some other things, but it was really, I believe it was Staphylococcus aureus that really did the most good. So just general ailments down there, you can think of Staphylococcus aureus. But this cystitis that needs Staphylococcus aureus is brought on by sexual intercourse. So the symptoms may include cutting and burning pains, rape, sexual abuse, incest, violent relationships, where the woman feels worthless and can't stand up for herself. Those are extremes. So please don't feel like you can't use Staphylococcus aureus if those things don't fit you. Maybe you are in a happy marriage and but you just get UTIs after sex with your husband. Then think of Staphylococcus aureus. So you don't have to have been through, but Staphylococcus aureus is a big one for abused women who either were abused in the past or are being. And we just did an abuse podcast. I believe Staphylococcus aureus was in that one, wasn't it?
I think so. Well, and it makes sense when you think about the way that it's happening is traumatic and not sanitary, not in a safe way. And Staphylococcus aureus isn't that's a infection and it was in our abuse one.
Yeah. So, Staphylococcus aureus is the Spanish fly.
Spanish fly?
It's the if you look it up, it's a big fly. And so remember when people were using Spanish fly, like the herb or something, to put in women's drinks. And
okay. This is so interesting, the way that these things are all linked as a homeopathic remedy to things like that.
All right, benzoic acid. We did cover benzoic acid in the bedwetting one, but benzoic acid can also be for cystitis, and these symptoms are the same. So gravel or gritty substance in the urine, very strong smell like a horse's urine, gout or kidney stones, and swollen joints might come along with this.
So a question about this connected to bedwetting. Would this be a scenario where maybe you have a UTI, you have cystitis, you use benzoic acid, it treats that, but then you have bedwetting after? Because it worked to treat your cystitis, would you go back to that as your bedwetting remedy?
You definitely could.
Okay.
You definitely could. And did one of our remedies in bed, if one of our remedies in bedwetting said like the etiology or the cause was a cystitis, then definitely, right?
Right.
I
was just thinking in terms of the linked remedies, like if a remedy has worked, but it is a different condition. So
it is, but it still could, because it worked there, it could work, because it could be a really good remedy for you.
Okay.
So another great remedy for cystitis is apis. Apis is the honeybee. And this has urinary retention. Urethra swells shut. Has to be catheterized. That happened to me after one of my children's births. I couldn't urinate, and
like the swelling and inflammation.
I had an epidural, and I knew my body that I wasn't one that could go that many hours without using the bathroom. Plus I had an IV, so I was getting fluids. And I started to think, I'm pretty sure that my bladder's full. I was
same
numb.
thing.
Mhm.
That's
And
funny that they didn't put a catheter in until I said, I probably have to pee.
yeah,
But you can't feel anything.
right, you can't feel anything. And so I just had a strong feeling. I was like, I probably need to empty my bladder. And when they catheterized me, they were like, oh my gosh. And I
You
was
could
like,
have
you're about to sit over
exploded.
here and let me explode my because you weren't paying attention. So anyway, yes. So apis, because the urethra swells shut and you might have to be
Mhm.
catheterized to use the bathroom. Stinging pain only passes a few drops, thirstless and scanty urine. Another quick little example where I used apis is my youngest son had a surgery. Um, and then after that surgery, he couldn't urinate. So we had to take him to the doctor's office in the middle of the night so they could catheterize him. And so then
Oh,
he got apis. I know he was just a baby and he was
that's
screaming, crying.
terrible.
It was terrible. It was awful. I kept waiting and waiting. I was like, okay, it's been a long time. He hasn't had a wet diaper. And I was worried. And when I kept calling the doctor's office, they were probably like, this crazy lady. And finally it had been 10 hours. And I was like, okay. And he's crying.
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
And he's a baby, so he's nursing.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Apis also
okay.
can have chills and fever and be worse for heat. All right. Our last little cystitis. Oh, there's two more things to say. So our last cystitis remedy is causticum, and it has a raw burning in the urethra, a constant dribbling with laugh, sneeze, or cough. Worse for cold, dry weather. Causticum also has bedwetting in children, and worse for wind. So those are some pretty specific things too, right? If it gets windy and then if you're out in the wind and then you get cystitis, then you might think of causticum. And the last thing you can do is potentize your urine and take it as a remedy.
Stop it.
So, right? So we can turn anything into a homeopathic remedy, right? So whatever, all these remedies we're talking about, the Spanish fly, it's been crushed, and then turned into, and then they put it in an alcohol solution and they let it sit and they take that tincture and they make it into, you can do the same thing with your urine and you dilute it and succuss it, just like Hahnemann did, just like the homeopathic pharmacies do now. And you can make like a 30C. um, I would only do that if the other remedies weren't working.
And you have to
But
use your sick, like with a UTI urine.
say that
Or
again.
your own. Does
Yeah.
it have to be your urine with
Mm, interesting. I would say, I don't know if it matters.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a very good
Because
question.
that seems like an involved thing to do when I'm not feeling well.
Right. Yeah.
And so post-apocalyptic, if we ever need
Right.
to make our own remedies. I mean, actually,
Mhm.
though, you really can make your own remedies out of,
Out of anything.
all these things.
You just you have to have the alcohol.
Yeah. Well, and do
And
it
then
correctly, which is
right.
a lot more involved, I think, than we think. We're like, oh, dilute it, shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
No big deal. 100 times 100,
Yeah.
you know. That's
Mhm.
so interesting.
Yes. So that's cystitis. And I know a lot of my listeners follow, do Banerjee protocol. So there is a Banerjee protocol. I didn't have that written down for this, but yeah, I feel like all of my listeners know how to find Banerjee protocols. You probably have the Banerjee book, or if you've been in a gateway class, you've done, we've taught, I don't know if we talk about cystitis in a gateway class, but
It
did
says
you find
Canthar
it?
200,
Okay.
2
How
to 3
often?
times a day
Okay.
until symptoms improve, which makes
Okay.
sense. I mean, that is the number one.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's Canthar is 200, 2 to 3 times a day until symptoms improve. Very
Yep.
good. Wonderful.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
This was fun, and I hope that it helps you in the future. Remember to get all these things in your notes, and
Mhm.
we'll see you guys next time.